All right.
Hey, we are here. All right, nobody else is here yet, so we'll wait till everyone gets here, then we can get them all riled up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't believe the library Skype chat is still active compared to the other ones.
Well, that's fine. It was an open chat, so I don't see why it wouldn't be active.
Yeah. I think the guild was a closer. Yeah, the guild was a closed chat.
Okay, what happened there? It sounded like you just cut out.
Who, me?
Yeah, your mic just seemed like it just scrambled
Oh,
unless
it's
it was
probably
me.
the automatics again.
Okay, yeah. All right.
It's
Well, so you sent Jenny the link, right? Okay, she might
Yeah, I
not be.
did. I did.
She might be busy. I don't know.
You know, when it comes to Marie and Anthony and her, you know they're going to be busy.
Well, I mean, if they're. Oh, what do I hear?
Oh, I put it sky high. Maybe I should not done that.
Yikes. Yeah, that's
I know
loud.
it's good cancellation technologies, and it does have a removable filter that I could just take out.
Huh.
Want me to go ahead and take out the filter, or
Well, would that change that loud? It sounds like I'm hearing myself.
let's find out.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, that sounds better now. Yeah. I don't know if that was going to help you or not. uh, now you just.
yeah, the pop filter comes right either on and off and stuff.
See, that's weird 'cause I got mine on. I got mine, without it. I don't know if it makes any difference, except that you don't hear yourself when you say like a price. You don't hear the wind or
Right.
the pea popping sound. So that's
And
why.
then I can just
Hey, we got one
like
watching. What the hell? We got two watching.
and then I can just adjust the gain from the microphone. The
Yeah.
only thing it does not have is an on and off, which is disappointing.
All right, now we got two watching. Now, if anybody wants to be on the panel tonight, please send us a message. If we know who you are, then we'll send you the link. Oh,
Oh,
hey,
there's
that's Jeff.
uh,
That's Jeff. Jeff. Hey, Jeff. What's
Jeff.
going
You're
on?
on mute.
Oh, we can't hear you, and you're looking great, man. You're looking awesome. You sound even better. There you go. You're you're looking good too, man. I love that camera. That's amazing.
He might be
Yeah,
having
my
some
internet
trouble.
connection isn't the best in the world, so
Oh, okay. I got you.
Oh wow.
All right. You're not in the
Okay.
you're not in the hills, are you? Somewhere? I can't remember. You said you were in what location again? Or about Ohio or something? No, wait, not you. You weren't in Ohio, were you? Who was in Ohio that we were talking to? Someone. Can't remember now.
Yeah, I think as previously mentioned, his internet is not the best.
If you have a hotspot and you have a 4 or 5G phone, I'd recommend you use that for the time that you're on. If you have hotspot time that you can use
Yeah.
on the phone.
Sometimes DSL, or if you're like Ron, that FWA proprietary radio towers, like going from tower to tower.
Yep.
It's sometimes like, and Ron, you had those issues before. It's not what you do to think. See, I'm on that 5G home internet, and it's stable.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes they like to mess with you. And
You want to know how long I was out of internet? Like from Monday to Tuesday, 18 hours. Now you know there's going to be some serious shit that's going to happen.
Yeah,
And pardon the French, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, you should request for compensation on that time that you lost. I would make sure I would complain about that.
Oh yeah.
So, but we're not talking about complaining to the internet provider because usually they don't care.
Yeah. So do we have Jeff?
Jeff is there.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
All right.
All right. Now you don't have a webcam, do you?
Yes, I do, but I'm sitting outside right now and it's dark. So
Oh,
you wouldn't
okay.
see anything anyhow.
Okay. Fine with me.
Right.
Fine with me.
The whole thing would be dark, right?
No, that's it. It's like,
All
well, we
right.
made a point.
Well,
How are the stars?
What's that?
How are the stars?
Well, we're not quite the stars yet. It's just dark enough to where it's the sun went down about a half hour, 45 minutes ago. So we got a little bit of pink out to the west, and the east is just about black.
Oh, okay.
all right. So you're east of.
I'm in Missouri.
Okay.
I'm
Oh,
just
you're in
just west of Mississippi.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm in southeast Missouri.
All right.
Yeah.
So
And
like right at the edge of the Mississippi, then.
I go fishing there as often as I can.
Oh well. I don't like rivers. No, we've had our fill of rivers already this week. We've had road closures, everything.
Well, I come from the East Coast. I come from the East Coast, and I was born and raised in Maryland, and I lived in West Virginia for 30 some years, almost 40 years. And I read all the stories of Huck Finn, Tom Sawyer, a bunch of other stories about the the mountain range out here.
Yeah.
And so when I had the opportunity of moving out, I jumped at it. And it was so I don't know what word to call it, to actually be sitting on the Mississippi River fishing, just like in the books, and have a stern wheeler come by while I was sitting there. Nostalgic watching that happen. The American Queen came past.
Yeah. Interesting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, I don't know though. I mean, I live here in Minnesota, and I born and raised in California, and then went into the service and went all over the world, and then came back and lived in California for a little bit longer, and I said, forget you, I'm out of this stupid state. I had enough of it and decided to go to North Carolina, which that wasn't any better, actually. The area was nice, but I went from a well-paying job at the time to zero income in North Carolina and no job. And then I had to wait for Pizza Hut to open up and get a job in a restaurant and make about $7 less an hour than what I was making. Okay, that's what I was kind of an eye opener there. And but hey, I survived. I got through it. Worked at that Pizza Hut for 9 years. So, and I ended up buying a house, but then they decided they wanted to. It's in North Carolina. I bought a house and paying it off, and then all of a sudden they wanted me to pay taxes for a minor league baseball stadium. I said, wait a minute, what? Why am I going to pay my property tax to support your fund? And you're not going to give me any kind of a deal, like free game tickets or whatever? something, right? And so I just said, nope, I ain't gonna stay here. I'll sell my house right now, and we're out of here. I moved up to Minnesota in 2000. But I lived in and around the Twin Cities area, mainly Minneapolis, Errt side, and I lived in some pretty strange areas. Lived in Plymouth for 6 years, and then I lived in Minneapolis directly, in downtown Minneapolis, North Minneapolis, and then last place I lived up there was Brooklyn Center, and then I moved down here to my house, and I'm so glad I did that. Going from an area that has nearly 1 million people, residents in the area, right? Not to mention everyone else coming to it. And so you have consistently, you have close to 1 million residents that are there all the time, right? All around that area. And you know you're going to have trouble then, right? Don't matter what you do.
Yeah.
The larger the population, the greater the problem is. And anyway, I just said, yeah, I got the offer to move down here. My manager that owned the apartment building where I lived at, he said, hey, I bought a house in Jeffers. And I said to him, I said, where the hell is Jeffers at? I didn't know.
Yeah.
And then
What's up, RL?
I couldn't even find it when I first came down here to try to find the town. I couldn't even find the house, couldn't find the town. Went right past it a couple times, probably. Figured it out finally and got here, and I said, I like it. I'll take it. If I couldn't find it, you know darn well somebody else ain't going to be able to find it.
Yeah.
They'll try to come and mess with me. They won't be able to find it.
That's sort of like the town that I grew up in. It was a whopping 7 houses and 2 trailers,
Oh,
and
wow.
it was 3 miles. It was 3 miles from the closest paved road.
Yeah.
And growing up, we had a saying of people who come into the town. They fit into 2 categories: they were related or they were lost.
Oh boy. Yeah, I like that though.
Lord
That's
have
good.
mercy.
That's good in a way, because then you don't have to worry about, like I said, you don't have to worry about somebody trying to find you because they can't. So, hey RL, how you doing? All right, so I had a thought about talking about some topics. I'm going to use the Bible as my reference, and we can use anything we want. If you have other writings you want to use or other thoughts you want to go with and compare with what we're discussing with from the Bible, or what I'm discussing with from the Bible now. This is no point of, as a matter of fact, I'm right, you're wrong, or whatever. This is about exploring the different viewpoints and different perspectives, including our own. If we have something that's different than what we've been taught throughout our life, and all of a sudden, hey, that doesn't seem right now. We're gonna make make this a little bit different viewpoint here, because I align with it differently. Okay, so my topic that I picked was creation. And I was just looking at some of the verses, just looking at one. I looked up Mark 10, chapter 10, verse 6, in the newer translation of the English Standard Version. And anyways, it talked about, in the beginning, he created a male and female. Now this is before anything else was even. What I'm getting at is that our human souls, our human energy, our human soul energy, our inner self. If you don't believe we don't have one, then that's okay too. That's up to you. But I believe we all have some inner self, or inner soul, inner source, if you will. If you want to look at it that way, some people say source, like the great source, So instead of saying God, I say God. But anyway, our human spirit, was made at the same time the universe was made. Okay? We didn't become human in this time frame. Well, I became human in 1961 in this timeline. Now, that doesn't mean that I wasn't here before. That doesn't mean that I was somewhere else before. It just means that my soul energy was created at the beginning of everything else that was created. Now, the way that we look at that, from my point of view, is that we are created in the image of God, right? According to what it reads and how we understand it in simple English. Now, again, I'm not asking anyone to change their mind or change religions or anything. What I'm asking you to do to consider and be aware of the different viewpoints in the situation. Now, what I see is that we were made a little bit lower, and there's a verse for this. I can't remember where, but you can do a Google search probably and find it. And I can't right now, but somebody else can. Where it says that we were made a little bit lower than the angels, but in the end or in the near future will be higher than the angels. Okay. Now, why would we be higher than the angels if the angels are actually greater than us right now, right? They seem to be so much more powerful than we are, obviously, but they can just do things differently than we do. Doesn't mean that we can't. We just don't have the abilities in this realm, in our human state, because of how we are blocked from being able to do certain things. Okay? Now, the other thing is, when he says that we're made in his image and his likeness, and then we are going to be made higher than the angels. You know, right now we're a little lower than the angels because we're in human form. But when we go to cross over, go to the other side, go to be with God, if we're on the same pathway as that is concerned, if we're perfect enough or whatever, not perfect enough, but if we're forgiven and we go there that way, then we are, of course, with God, and then we are higher than the angels. Now we're made in His image. That would mean that we're kind of like royalty, right? If you think of it that way. So what I find interesting is the creation story way back in the beginning. And some people will think that I'm crazy for this, but that's okay. And what I find is that when God created Adam, now some people say that didn't happen that way. And we need Kevin here too, Bobby. If you didn't send Kevin the link. And
Yeah, I'm gonna tend to Kevin right away.
yeah, I don't know if Charles is awake. I don't know if Maria is awake, but see if they're willing to
I'm gonna
jump
do
in.
Kevin first.
Yeah, I don't know if he's available or not, but give him the option because I know he was wanting to talk about this kind of stuff. So no sense in hearing me talk for 2 hours about nothing. I mean, I can do it. Everyone knows I can do it. But we got Jeff here as a guest. He can help. But anyway.
All right, Kevin's
So
been sent. Charles has been sent.
yeah, and then do you have Tiffany or not? Tiffany Mack, do you have her at all? I know
Yeah,
she
I
likes
got
this.
Tiffany.
You know she likes this kind of conversation, but she might not be available if she's on her vacation still. But give her an opportunity and see if she wants to say hi. She might say no, but she can definitely join if she wants. Give everyone the opportunity if they want. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, God created Adam from the dirt. Now, some would say, no, we evolved from, we were space dust. We come in, we landed here, and we evolved here. That's a lot of chance there. course, it's probably just a chance that God created us, right? But anyway, that's part of the faith. That's what part of the faith is. I guess you can have faith in the space rock dropping us off, and we're evolving into what we are today. I don't know. I don't have the answer on that one. But I can only go with what I read, and maybe it's right, maybe it's not. But I don't know. What do you think's more believable? The fact that some great being created us, and then here we are, and we call him God, okay? Or do you believe that we landed here from a space rock, and then we evolved into what we are from? Some people say we evolved from apes, which I don't agree with that. Not because I don't want to argue the fact that we're an ape or not. Not that at all. What I'm saying, that doesn't make any sense. You know, they actually have discovered that in the figures um, of oh boy, there goes my brain. Of the guy that discovered the Darwin theory. Yeah, there you go. See, I just left for a second and I just came back to the right conversation. So there you go. See, Darwin theory. Um, they figured out his calculations were off just by a simple number, and it made the whole thing wrong. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I can understand what you're saying, RL, in the sense of our chemical product or our chemical makeup. Yes, I see what you mean. But I'm talking about how we became a human being from what the Bible was saying. It doesn't talk about the stardust thing. Although it does talk about we come from the dust, we go back to the dust, right? And then our soul goes back to God who what? Who gave it? Oh, that's right. Okay, so our soul energy again comes from up there, and we became human, and here we are, right? So the point of the matter is, we've been up there already. Now we're trying to get back up there from here.
Mm-hmm.
And because of our limited ability as a human, because the body really kind of filters a lot of the stuff that we know and believe. And then when we see somebody like a medium or a shaman guy, you know, someone who's very religious and experienced in the communication and the exercises of understanding the spiritual things, then we think, oh gosh, I known that before. I already knew that, you know. Well, we kind of forgot it because we're filtered from that.
It's like I knew you before you was formed in a womb.
Yeah, exactly. So that means that's one of the things I was going to talk about. Okay, he knew us before we were formed in our mother's womb. What the heck does that mean? Explain that one. And if you can explain that one, then maybe we'll get somewhere here. I don't know if we can, but anyway.
How can you explain uh, groups of humanoids like the Denisovans or the Neanderthals, how similar they are to us, and they, in time wise, came right before us. So how can you, using your beliefs, how can you explain away these other creations?
Okay, I don't know if I'm explaining them away in a sense of understanding the process. Okay, so God can, okay, I'm say God now. Don't get mad at me for that. Okay, we're not going to be like like last night. I watched that debate. I wasted most of my lifetime watching that debate for an hour and a half. What a waste of time that was. But anyway, that's a whole nother subject. Uh, on both sides, that was a bad display. But
I wonder if you watched the post debate or ABC didn't carry it,
I don't know
like
what
the
now.
post debate discussion.
Oh, I don't know. But anyway, God can create anything He wants at the time that He wants and how He wants because He's God, right? He's the Creator. He can do anything He wants. He has rules, but He's out of our realm of understanding rules. So when we say, "Oh, He did that wrong," who are we to tell what He did wrong? We're nobody. We're His creation. How can we say that He did things wrong? We can't. Now, the answer that I have is that the Neanderthals that are before, let's say, if they're before Adam and Eve, for instance, okay, they were without a soul, so to speak. They were just animals roaming the planet, surviving. All right.
If they
Yeah.
didn't have souls, why were they one of the first cultures that actually had burials where they treated their dead? They actually put them in graves. They gave them different artifacts of their beliefs or what they had made, like gifts. They actually added flowers to their graves. How can you say they didn't have a
That's
soul if they revered about the afterlife?
That's a good point. Thank you. See, now I like that. You're making more sense than what I was thinking of. That I don't know. I can't answer that question unless, well, okay. See, like for instance, if you look at the creation story of Adam and Eve, all right, you look at the creation story of Adam, for instance. When God breathed, what now? If you look in the chapter, Genesis chapter 6, I believe it is, or yeah, somewhere around there. And he breathed the breath of life into him, and he became what? He became a living soul. Nowhere in the history of humans does it say anything about God giving them life in that manner. Nowhere. Now, I don't know if they had souls from their creation time. That's a possibility. Maybe they did. Maybe they were created with a soul in them already, meaning the species before humans. Okay, I don't know that we're all humans before Adam and Eve, if they were considered human in that sense, humanoid maybe. RL might have a good point that we are a hybrid, so to speak, of some sort. All right, which that could be, but in our case, as far as our generation of human beings from Adam and Eve all the way to where we are now, we are created with a living soul inside of us at the time that we're conceived in the womb. And of course, as Bobby has pointed out, that he knew us before we were in our mother's womb, right? So where'd that come from? I mean, that means we were up there enjoying life, having a great time, not having to worry about how to pay the rent, not having to worry about how to get to work, yeah, not having to worry about any of that. We were fine, and all of a sudden here we are, a human trying to figure out how to survive in life, and we got people blowing us up, we got people shooting us in cities, and got people stealing our cars and breaking into the houses and robbing us and everything like that. Why would I leave heaven when I was nice and enjoying eternity already? And then here I am, human. So explain that one. That's a crazy thing in itself. But now with the
The
idea
only
of,
thing I'm going to say about
go ahead.
the only thing I wanted to add about that was the thought of a living human soul. They no one spoke about that until the Bible was created, which was ages and ages after Adam and Eve. There
Yeah.
was numerous writings way before the Bible was ever created, and none of them, and these are modern humans, none of them spoke of having a living soul
So then
until the
who
Bible came
well,
out.
okay, now as you know, the Bible before it was written, obviously it was spoken, and the stories were told for hundreds of years. Okay. Now we can only hope that when they're telling a story, of course, the Holy Spirit would be guiding them to tell the correct story and keep it all right. But who knows if that was the case? I mean, we know in the King James Version, for instance, 1611, even with that, if the scribe didn't write what the king wanted to, what happened? He was done. Then he found somebody who did write what he wanted. Okay,
Yeah,
and that
you hit on one. You hit on one of the biggest problems I personally have with the Bible.
yeah,
Was number one, it was written by it was written by men, but it also says in the Bible that the Word of God cannot be altered or something else. I can't even remember the verse. And yet they have written documentation that pretty much every pope from Constantine down took
changed it.
things out of the Bible because they didn't believe it,
Yeah,
including reincarnation. Well, if the Word of God is infallible, why are these men altering the book?
yeah,
And exactly where is the true book? What was the very first written Bible? Exactly what all was in it? And why do we have spare books laying around that weren't included?
yeah,
And the reason for that is because the men, 200 men that got together to put the Bible together, didn't exactly agree with a lot of the things that were being said in these other books, even though they were written the same time by some of the same people around Jesus. They decided they didn't like how that story went, so we're going to leave that out. Um, to me, just this is my own personal opinion on religion. To me, religion was it was a way to be propaganda in order to gain power over other people. That's
yeah,
just me,
yeah,
and I'm not saying I applaud people that want to believe it in Jesus. Well, in the Bible, if they want to follow what's in the Bible, more power to them, because there are a lot of outstanding things in the Bible. But but that doesn't mean that I have to agree with everything that's in the Bible or believe that's how things came along.
right.
Um,
And you know that's what I was going to say is that when we're talking over on my show, you've heard me say this before. Don't ever agree with me. Never. Never agree with me unless you actually do. And of course, yeah, go ahead. But if I'm saying something and you don't agree with it, don't agree with it. And then we'll have a conversation about it and try to figure it out. And if we get it figured out, great. If we can understand both sides of the coin, then we can understand both sides of the coin and go from there, you know. And then just give a little more understanding and a little bit wider field of view
yeah,
of what we need to look at.
like you said in the last
What?
Oh,
right, like you said in the last show, none of us were around when this was written or when all this took place. None of us were here.
Right.
So who's to say who's right and who's wrong? It all just comes down to
Yeah. And the
what
hardest
they
thing,
believe in.
yeah, and the hardest,
That is your right.
yeah, and the hardest thing that I have with it is that one, we're so, in a way of throttling an engine down. You change the governing thing in the carburetor in the old carburetor, and the gas and things like that. You change the throttle and how much is where you're able to have the amount of gas
All
coming
right.
through.
Oh, there we go.
And so, anyway, you throttle down. So, in the human sense of things, we are seeing things in a filtered view. Okay? There are things in the known, written, whatever best Bible version you want to get. All right? And you're looking at the stories of it, and you're thinking, wait, what is missing here? Why am I not understanding this story here? Because we're looking at it from the flesh human sense, and we're trying to understand what was written from the spirit. Okay, you see what I'm saying? So we're missing some of the story. And then as people are talking about over, let's see, let's just take the first 5 books of Moses. How many years was that he wrote those 5 books? Okay, a few years, right? Quite a few years that he took. I don't know that he actually had written all of those books, but anyway, his teachings were all those books, okay? And maybe somebody else wrote them, because I think in the later parts he wasn't able to even pretty much raise his hands. Remember when he had the fighting, he had to raise his hands and then put his hands down, and he couldn't hold his hands up because he was so he's such an older person, like in his near 100 or whatever it was. I can't remember now, but anyway, yeah, he wouldn't be able to write. I don't think for the later parts of his writings. So somebody else obviously would have to write them, but they would be written by what people would be saying. So you're sitting around the campfire, you're talking about the Bible stories, right? And somebody says, "Oh, what about when Jeff did that at the fireplace? That's pretty funny when Jeff did that, huh? Whatever Jeff did, when he choked on his beer because he was laughing at someone's joke, you know, and not that you drink beer or anything like that, but you know what I mean. Whatever you're drinking, or you're eating a piece of chicken and you swallow a chicken bone or something like that. And you're laughing about a joke. That wouldn't be in the Bible, but yet in the actual situation that took place, that's what happened. So I'm getting at the point of what happened to that story, right? That story's gone, or it didn't get included. And then here we're talking about, well, why was Jeff rolling around on the ground because he couldn't breathe because he was, you know what I'm saying? You don't get that part. So you can write a whole nother part of that book just by adding a few things that we missed. Okay. So I don't know if that
Did you
makes
ever
any sense.
play the telephone game when you were a kid?
Like what?
Do you ever play the telephone game when you were a kid? That's where the entire classroom stands up and facing the person in front of you, and the teacher tells a secret to the first person in the line, and they have to
Yeah,
repeat it all the way to the end.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then you get to hear what the last person in that line comes out and says.
yeah.
It almost never matches what the original story was.
And then the teacher
And
has written down what
do
she
you,
actually says.
right.
I would
And it's not
suck.
even close.
Yeah, yeah.
I would suck at heads up, heads down, 7-Up.
now, do you
Sorry.
think it's possible that, no problem. Do you believe that it's possible that these stories have been altered or not been completed intentionally so we can't get to the truth due to us choosing what books to believe and which ones to think are just completely fake?
That's a good question. I think that could definitely form our opinions. All right. The Babylonian captivity civilized the Hebrews. Okay. So
Have you ever heard of the Anunnaki?
yeah, And I
Okay.
don't know. I don't
So
know if
you,
I'm related to that
for
or not.
the people who don't know about the, okay, the people who don't know about the Anunnaki, they were space beings that came down. They were actually like 7 races that came down. There was lizard men, people that looked like hawks. You know, there was somewhat human looking ones, generally the grays. Uh, when they came down, they did genetic manipulation on the humanoids that were here to try to make a race on Earth that they could use as slaves.
Yeah.
And once they got what they were looking for, when a war started out between factions of the Anunnaki, then what the humans they created rose up and uh, basically won their freedom through a battle.
Yeah.
But just to put a little twist on that, some of the factions on the Anunnaki who lost in the battle against the other parts of the Anunnaki, they decided to stay here on Earth.
Oh.
And the reptilians are one in particular that never left. They actually went into their caves and they supposedly built an underground civilization. Now, the reason I say this is that if you read in the Bible, God created Adam and Eve,
Yeah.
but they also created Lilith. Okay, and everybody's wanting to know what happened with Lilith. Where did Lilith come from? Who did she marry?
Okay, now,
go to?
no.
According to some books, Lilith was born from the same earth as Adam, and because she would not submit to Adam, she was forced to leave the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
And that's why Eve was born of the rib of Adam.
Right.
Okay, so she is a part of Adam.
And then
Okay, so she's subservient
say?
to Adam.
Do you remember what
Okay,
Adam said in his
if you think about the Anunnaki, how they created us. I'm sorry, what was that?
I was just going to say, do you remember what Adam said when he realized that?
No.
Okay, he said, "Woman of my bone." When he
Right.
realized that Eve became from him, and of course he was missing a rib, right? And he's like, "Wait a minute." But then what happened was, and what
Yep.
you're saying is that
Right.
gave Adam
here's a little
dominion,
twist.
basically.
A little twist out of it.
Go ahead.
What if Adam and Eve were the first that came to be exactly what the Anunnaki wanted? Now you have God, which is the Anunnakis. You've got Adam and Eve, but everybody's saying, well, who did everybody breed with after Adam and Eve had their kids and they left and everything? You still had Neanderthals. You still had regular modern humans. You still had the Denisovians who look remarkably human. So if you join these stories together, it actually melds into other stories. If you look at the architecture from Sumeria and you see the god of the Anunnaki, he looks somewhat human. If you pay close attention to that picture, he's holding a small box. Looks like a purse almost.
Yeah.
But at the same exact time, if you look in South America, there is a bird sculpture there, a humanoid that's bird-like. And what in the world does he have in his hands? This exact same box is sitting in his hand.
Oh, wow.
So we're looking at 2 races of the Anunnaki, worlds apart from one another, carrying the same device. And that same device would happen to be a DNA splicer. Okay, that they were using on the different forms of humanoids. Okay, so they created Adam and Eve.
The box, would you think that box could be the Ark of the Covenant? Could that be one of the boxes?
No, I do not. No, I believe the box was actually some type of a genetic tool, a genetic splicer, a
Okay.
gene splicer.
All right. That's
So
fair
they were
enough, yeah.
taking different races of man to create modern man.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm saying that is there's too many things, too many holes missing in a creation story. But the Anunnaki story doesn't even mention Adam and Eve. But if you look at the two of them together, it actually matches up. It actually pairs. If you look at it from a genetics standpoint, Adam and Eve never existed until they were made,
Yeah.
till they were born from these aliens creating them genetically.
And then of course the story just
And you
gets
also
old.
last week brought on exactly
Yeah.
the way the story gets told. It's
Yeah.
being told separately from the Anunnaki story.
Okay. And of course they're told
So
that,
you got
oh,
two
we're
people
told,
believing
and then we're told, oh,
exactly.
don't believe that other one because that's evil or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely,
And then
absolutely.
then
There
we don't
is
have
a
the
city
ability.
over in. There's a city. Yeah, there's two stories, or two. There is a city in one of the in the Far East, not Far East, but the Persia area. It's built underground. And the reason it was built underground was so that the people could escape from the sky war that was going on at that time.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking about a sky war, those were the gods flying around fighting one another. That was the Anunnaki
Angels and
when they were
gods,
having
yeah.
their own personal war
Yeah.
before we freed ourselves.
Yeah.
Exactly.
like
There's
that.
your gods. Yeah.
Now
And
let me ask you a question.
remember I told you the reptilian went under.
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to say last week you talked about dragons.
Yeah.
Remember I told you the lizard people, the lizard race of lizards went underground. When you hear of dragon stories and is going after the dragon, where does he meet the dragon in most of those stories?
In a cave.
In his cave.
Yeah. Or in his lair. If you
In a
will.
cave, which
Yeah.
is exactly where they say,
Interesting.
right? Which is exactly
Wow.
where they said the reptilians went to.
Yeah. Interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
And then
Just put a little spin.
A little note for you is remember after Cain killed Abel, and then of course his sin was and he got kicked out of the garden, right? And then Cain says, "I'm going to go
Yes.
over there and take a wife," and he points to a mountain, way far away. "I'm going to go over there and take a wife," and it's like
Right.
I read that in the wait, where did those other people come from? If the only people were in the garden, you know what I mean? Where did those other people
Exactly.
come from?
Exactly.
So that was the first question. No, not
They
even
were right
anyone.
there.
There's no one that's even talking about that. They don't even mention that.
Right.
And I thought
Because
about
they
that
were
when I
already
read it.
created.
Yeah, see, I read that. I can't remember what version of the Bible I read that or what story I read that from, but it was an early biblical story that Cain got kicked out of the family because he killed Abel, right? So who wants him around, right?
Right.
And
Right.
I would do the same thing. He'd be out and gone, and you already have hundreds of other kids anyway. Who needs that one, right?
Yes, RL. That's
Yeah.
the place I'm talking about. The place in Turkey.
Cool. So RL knows a little bit.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
But what I'm saying is that you have a new race of man that not just they basically been talking about it for about a decade, maybe 2 decades now, and finding more information was the Denisovans.
Yeah.
Up until the Denisovans, we knew of modern man and we knew of the Neanderthals. Or right in between the two is the Denisovans, and they look like modern humans.
Okay.
But they were just short of us, Homo sapiens.
Okay.
One thing that the Denisovans had that no other race had was a gene in them that allowed them to live at high elevations.
Mm.
Okay, modern man, most of us do not have that gene.
Right.
But if you turn around and you look at the Sherpas in Nepal and the people in up in the Mongolian area, the high mountains, they actually have that gene.
or
they're
the
still considered Homo sapiens.
or the what is the one group? They're up on the mountains. They're very religious. I can't remember who they are now, but
Up in Nepal.
yeah, I mean they're like way up in the. I mean they're above the clouds, you know.
Right.
And
Yes.
they're doing their religious thing, and only people that have the ability to get up that high. And
Right. And they have that ability because they have a gene. They have a gene in them that allows them to survive at high elevations. They got used to it
wow,
because of how their gene makeup is.
And I remember
And another fun little thing.
Yeah.
Another fun little thing when we were talking about, I was mentioning genetic manipulation, is we actually have chromosome 2 in our DNA structure. Okay, it's what the scientists have named as chromosome 2. It actually has 2 blockers on it, and the one blocker they've actually identified, it's an age limiter. It is what allows us to only live to be around 120 years old at max before we die. Okay, well, if they are not the ones who block on that gene, who did?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
I told you it was a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I mean, no, that does make sense. Some of the things you say. I mean, I don't understand them at all, but I mean, it does make sense, obviously, because that does fill in some of the loopholes that we were trying to figure out before. And even if I don't believe it or if I don't want to accept it, for whatever reason, it doesn't mean that you're wrong. Okay.
No, this is all just people's personal beliefs.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to sway you.
Yeah.
I'm just, all I was wanting to put out is there's an alternative to the Bible to look at. If you're truly looking for the truth, you can't base it off of one book. You literally have to go out and look at all these other stories, because even the Anunnaki, they make no mention whatsoever of Adam and Eve. None.
And the funny thing is, as we're having fun talking about this stuff, I'm sure that the fact checkers on Facebook are going crazy.
I bet they are.
So what I do a lot of times, I'll say, in our opinion, our own personal opinion, we have a right to that. Okay. We have a right to share our thoughts and our perceptions of what we want to believe and what we want to share. We're not trying to start a war. We're not trying to start any kind of issues or try to start a riot or anything like that. We're talking about just general information that everyone knows and everyone believes, and maybe some people have some other opinions. And so everyone has an opinion, right? I always like to say it this way. Everyone has one. What is it that everyone has? Everyone has one. The opinion is
a
one
brain.
thing. And what else? What else does everyone have? Every
a heart.
single. But the every thing on this planet has a rear end. I'll say it that way. And I'll say it that way to keep it nice and clean, family friendly. Everyone on this, everything, every living thing on this planet that I know of has a rear end. Would it be your fish in the ocean? Would it be your birds in the air? We know they do, right? Would it be dragons? Would it be? It doesn't matter who it is. Everyone has one. Okay. Now, what makes us different as humans is we all have our own opinion. We can put our own spin and our own idea on what we want to believe and what we want to share. Now, unless I'm going way out of there and I'm saying something to hurt anybody, then yeah, that's something different. But I'm not doing that. Okay? I'm saying a generality of this and that, so are you. And we might believe what we're talking about, but we're doing it from a general sense of things. We're not saying you have to believe it this way. I'm saying do your research and check it out. Check out some of the stories we're talking about. And you might be amazed. You might be amazed and say, "Hey, I never thought of it like that. Let's look at it." You know, right? Am I right, Jeff? You might be amazed.
Absolutely.
I
And
mean,
RL, the Göbekli Tepe, I think it Göbek. What I
yeah,
can't remember how it's pronounced.
I know what
Göbekli
you mean.
Tepe or whatever. That place, that site on its own has changed, has really confounded scientists who believe absolutely without a shadow of a doubt there were no civilizations before the ice age or during the ice age. All that came after the ice age, and yet now they're uncovering sites like Göbekli Tepe and others that predate the end of the ice age. So they're actually backing our civilization up through the science community even farther back than what they are their
They have,
prior belief.
yeah, they have pyramids that are older than the ones in Egypt. Okay,
Absolutely,
and so
absolutely.
they have pyramids. One is in, isn't there one in Mexico that's dates like what 1,000 years before or something like that? I can't remember. Um, but it's in Mexico. I know that, and it's just like in the middle of the forest. Nobody knew it was even there until they found it, and it was like the place where nobody ever been, but yet this pyramid was built, and wonder why.
They're
So
still uncovering pyramids in Egypt
yeah,
that they never even knew existed, and and many of those predate the three main pyramids, the pyramids of Giza. It predates those. So Lord only knows how far back all this is going to end up going.
I mean
It's
we
just
talk
that
about, yeah, we talk
if
about,
you want to follow just the scientific side of it, science is science is known fact. That does not mean that the facts can't change when more data is uncovered.
right.
And religion is the exact opposite. Religion is a set fact that you're not supposed to question it. If you question it, then you're, a heretic.
Yeah,
You're frowned on.
yeah.
You know,
Some of what we're talking about is considered negative.
absolutely, it's heresy.
But
But if the people who follow this religion, if you truly believe what you believe, why not delve deeper into it? Why not find the proof that you're looking for, rather than say,
see, yeah,
you don't question that. That's beyond question.
yeah, yeah. See, like what I believe, I believe that one, God can create anything, anywhere, anyhow He wants. Okay, God, the Creator. I'm saying. I'm not talking about Anunnakis. I'm talking about God that created the Anunnaki. All right. I'm saying the Creator, God, can create any life form, anything that He wants to at any time, any form that He wants to. He could have created humanoid type before Adam and Eve, but they didn't necessarily have a same awareness and soul as how Adam was created, and then Eve was created after that in the same fashion. Lilith, however, like what you said, Lilith might have been one of those early forms that didn't have the soul yet. You know what I'm saying? In the sense that Adam did. Okay, you know what I mean? Okay, if that makes sense. And so, when God created Adam, then He gave him the breath of life, and he became a living soul. And that also, when He ended up creating Eve after that, and I remember Lilith was already gone by that time, right? When they created Eve, and when He created Eve, and then gave her the breath of life as well, obviously. And then there you go. Now you got the human race as we know it. I mean, that's pretty simple. But there's a lot of things in between there that we don't quite get. And we're talking about Lilith. Some people say, "Oh, that's just a myth." No, it's not. Not when you look at how Adam, he's all excited about having a woman that's going to follow him now because she's part of him. What was that about? If Lilith wasn't there first, and he had the trouble trying to, so-called control her, not saying he was trying to control Eve, but I'm just saying that because Eve was of him, then she really had no choice but to obey him and do what he says, I think, if I understand that correctly. But of course, in today's world of women's rights and everything like that, you might want to be careful on how you voice that opinion. Just saying. And nothing against anyone that wants to have rights and everything like that. But just going from what we read in the Bible. Okay, in the Bible that we have now, some people forget about that part where Cain went to the mountain and went to go take a wife on the other side of the mountain. Well, what if that's Lilith that left the garden a long time ago, and she started a race over there somewhere, and one of those wives that Cain took is from her. Who knows? I don't really know.
And you notice that, according to theologians and everything, how, Lilith became this demon.
Yeah,
And the
screeching
reason
owl or whatever.
Yeah, she became a demon because she wouldn't follow Adam.
Yeah.
So they demonized her. Would you agree that the Bible is written as a masculine book?
As like how I say, God is He. Yeah, I think so.
God is He. Eve was to follow Adam.
Yeah.
The man is the dominant. The women are supposed to do what the man says. Even in some of the laws that they talk about is if a woman rebels against her man, then she can get stoned to death.
But then you have
it's pretty clear that's a male dominated book.
But then you have a problem of Ruth. Remember, she was a judge, right? Ruth. Okay, you have Ruth, but then you have
but who was Ruth's husband? Who was Ruth's husband?
You had Esther, who was a great prophetess, right? Who else?
Absolutely, they were great, tremendous. They were great and tremendous women, but they were also subservient to their men.
Yeah, and so they couldn't really say much. They had to follow by the rules. Yeah, so we were basically manipulated from our beginning as human beings. That is, I believe personally that some of us have been here for quite a few years, different, I call it, you've heard me say this before, I call it a life cycle, okay? So we have the same soul energy, and it's renewed or cycled into another life, okay? If that makes any sense. And that's why we can have understanding of things that we don't even know. I mean, when you think about that, I mean, like you had cases here just recently in the news where a 10-year-old boy was telling you how to fly a World War II plane. I mean, come on now. How is that even possible? Explain that one. I mean, he was the pilot of that plane, and he came back and a kid, and all of a sudden the kid's telling the parents how to fly the plane. And that's been
You're not allowed to talk about that. Remember, reincarnation is removed from the Bible, so you can't say it's reincarnation.
And I'm not saying it is. Did you hear what I said? I said a life cycle, what I call a recycled life energy. Okay, so for instance, I believe I started out my earthly existence. Of course, I'm from the future, but I'm also from the past. But I started this. Well, I started this life cycle in 1961, but I was in 850 AD in Greenland when I landed on this North American continent. Okay. Now my heritage is Danish. Okay, what did we do back then? Oh wait, we went exploring. We built ships in Denmark, right? And we navigated the globe before they even knew it was round. You know, and here we were sailing around the world, finding new land. We had North America before anybody, except for maybe some of the Asian people were here before we were. But primarily, we were one of the first ones that landed on the North American continent, and long before what's his face, Columbus. So, yeah, that was not the earliest time that they landed here and found this new world. No, this was discovered a long time ago. And so through the life cycle, so I lived and then I died and I came back. Now, during the time in between the life cycles, what I call life cycles, being programmed to do certain things to live to the next phase or next life cycle. Now, this is some crap story that I made up, but it sounds cool. Oh, who's that? Oh,
Yeah.
Justin.
That was just me again. I keep kicking out.
All right.
It keeps kicking me out of here.
I
I
keep
was going to
going
say,
on.
Ron, don't brag about you discovering America over here, because they found Chinese anchors off the coast of California that predate the Vikings by almost 1,000
There you go.
years.
There you go. Well, I'm going from my life story. I don't care about the Chinese. I did say the Chinese, though, didn't I? I did say that. I did mention the Chinese too, by the way. Hello. I said Asian anyway. I don't know if they're Chinese.
Okay.
Anyway, Asian uh, people that were here before we
Which
were.
also makes you think that, like, we're doing a lot of things for China, but China wants to do things against us, like the hacking, the data breaches, and all that. And
Oh, they don't want to do that. Come on now. They want to be respectful and treat us right. So, but anyway, back to my story though. So anyway, what happens is, so for instance, if you go from, let's see, I had it figured out about 1010, I think, is how far I went, and then I lost my train of thought. But then I wound up in uh, northeast, and I was on a ship, and it was around early 1700s, 1600s, 1700s. But I was a navigator on a ship. All right. Now, how did I know about navigation? Well, of course, I was an explorer, right? I was always an explorer. To follow up with my story, is what my job was in the Navy, in the United States Navy, in this life cycle. Okay. But anyway, back up to where 850, you go 40 years to 890, and then I'm just die off. I get old and I die. Whatever. That's the way it goes. I don't really die though. My cycle just ends, and I go to the reprogramming center out of this physical realm, and I go and I come back then around 1000. Okay, so no, wait, 890, 900 rather. Sorry, I forgot the 900s. Come back around 900, 910, I think it was what I come back at 910. But each time when I come back, and I keep this straight now, I don't start out as a kid. I didn't start out as a kid when I landed here in 850 AD. I was like 30 years old. Okay, or so, maybe 30. Yeah, right around 30. Because I don't think you lived much longer than 30 at that time, just because the body didn't survive that long after 30 years old. 60 years old is pretty darn old today. If you want to look at it that way, from the way that the body is and how our food supply is and everything like that. That's a whole nother show, though. But anyway, and we don't want to get into any disinformation or misinformation or anything like that. So be careful with how we discuss some of this stuff. But anyway, all mine is hypothetical stuff anyway. So, but anyway, so I come back and it's 9:10, and again I'm 30 years old and I'm traveling to the Northland, walking mostly. If I can find any kind of animal to ride, a horse or whatever, maybe a dragon, I don't know. But anyway, find something to help me get along. But most of the time, you just walk. Well, I was in good shape then. I was probably about 8 feet tall, maybe. Somewhere around there. And giant Viking, right? You'd think so. And so I was living my life, farming. Knew how to farm, of course, and you had to survive. Of course, winters were brutal. Then there was no climate change to worry about, except it was just cold. That was the only climate change we had was the cold. But we survived. We learned how to survive. Built a cabin and firewood. Of course, had plenty of trees to cut down. Of course, you had to figure out how to cut them down. But that was possible, then. And so we survived on the land, obviously. Then, and so I went from 9:10 to about 9:70 or so, and so that was about 60 years or so. And then I went back to the programming state, and again I was an explorer, right? That was my job from day one, and on both sides of the future and the past. And this time here on planet Earth, it's all in the past, okay? Until I get to this current life cycle. Now it's now. But then I also realize I'm from there, the future, which I can't figure that part out yet. But anyway, I die about 970, right? So about 60 years. And I go back to the reprogramming center or the processing center, or whatever you want to call it, and they're reprogramming me. And in about 1010 or so, I come back and I'm still on the land, heading towards the east for some reason. And so then the only thing I remember, there's some missing years there, like a couple 100 years. And I wind up on a ship about 30 some years old as a navigator on this sailing ship, right? And now what's interesting about that is it's going to Africa. It's picking up slaves or whatever it's doing. I don't know. I was just a navigator. I wasn't anybody in the trading business. I was just doing what I was told to do, as an officer. You're told to do certain things. You may or may not like what you're doing, but it's in order to do it. So sometimes not the best thing that you have to do. But anyway, as I'm going on, of course, that goes out and everything like that, and wind up, and I get born in 1961 as a child now. Now, I've never been a child before. What's that all about? I've always been a 30-year-old, already know what I'm doing, didn't have to go through the childhood phase. I don't know what y'all think about this story, but anyway, it sounds like a pretty good idea. But if you can debunk it, go ahead. And now I'm not talking about reincarnation now. This has nothing to do with reincarnation. I'm talking about recycled or a life cycle, recycling the soul. Okay.
I'm certainly not going to debunk what you're saying, but it does bring up some questions, though.
Okay, good. And then
you believe in God, so you believe in heaven, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking about a reprocessing where you have to basically like a database.
Yeah.
Would you consider yourself as being sent to purgatory instead of heaven? to be reprogrammed and everything, and then brought back. Could that be actually
No.
what you believe purgatory is from the Bible, since you
processing.
didn't go to heaven?
The processing center. Hey, that might be. Yeah, that could be. And I didn't think of it that way. And purgatory, yeah. Some people don't believe in it, but it does mention it. And there's well, I mean, I think some of the spirits that we're dealing with, and when we're talking about ghost hunting, that's a whole nother show. But just as an example, where do all these spirits come from? I mean, if they're supposed to be, we're given a lot of leeway when we say they're human spirits. But let's say if they are human spirits, as they claim they are, and a lot of times, then why didn't they stay in heaven where they were supposed to stay? Okay, that's the problem I have there.
There's several books out that I can't even tell you the author or everything that's in the book, but one that I did read said that there's only so much space in heaven. Okay, if there's only so much space, that means that if you die and they're full up at the point before they get sent back down, then you have to wait somewhere.
Oh boy.
So either you're going to wait around as a spirit, or you're going to purgatory to have your little wait and see.
Oh boy.
And while you're in, and my thinking is, if you're in purgatory, if the wait is a long wait, you may be given an option to come back early. And that would be your span of 100 years, 150 year span.
To be reprocessed or
to be reprocessed, reprogrammed, and sent back in, because there isn't space left in heaven for you.
So my point about
that's
the
my own personal
navigation
thoughts.
theory, yeah, my point about the navigation theory is this: when I went into the United States Navy, again, I had no clue about sailing. I didn't care to be on the water, but I knew I needed to serve, because that's what I felt my duty was. Again, I was programmed to do what? I was programmed to explore, right? I was programmed to explore. So that meant I needed to go into the service, to the Navy. Well, I picked the Navy because, well, I get to travel the most, and usually that's probably the safest, unless you're in the middle of the war and you get sunk, then that can be a problem. But in general, if you're going to be pretty safe compared to on land. So anyway, my job in the Navy, after I went through my training and everything, was quartermaster navigation. Now, of course, I was only a little E3. I wasn't no officer or anything like that, but I just was normal E3, no big deal. I did pass my E4 exam, but I never got it, but I did pass it. So I had the knowledge of navigation for some reason. Again, I was programmed to do that. So that was the job I picked. And guess where I went to? My first Westpac. I went across the date line, of course. I got my showback initiation, if you know what that is. And it's when you cross the international date line, you get your showback initiation, which is not fun, but you get a certificate and you get it on your records stating that you're a showback. And so it's pretty nice thing to have if you ever get to cross the date line. And but anyway, I went to Australia, okay, and I did go to Africa a couple of times, actually about 4 times, I think. Went to Madagascar. Went to another one on the mainland, but I can't remember what now. But in my other life, though, in my other life cycle, Africa was a bad place with diseases. you normally did not survive that area of the world, just simply because we had no understanding of the diseases in that area. Okay. Now, when we went overseas, every time they shot us, you talk about the I don't know if I can say this or not, the jab. You talk about the protection, I like to call it. You want to be careful of the words you use still, because they're going to try to get you. The protection from the incident, this recent one that we just had, right? You know what I'm saying. But anyway, in the military, I had all kinds of things that we had to take to protect us against whatever was there. Malaria, whatever. Philippines, you had malaria. You could have been dead, within a few minutes. You'd be dead. No question.
I was U.S. Army, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So you remember the air guns they used when they did the inoculations.
The gauntlet.
Yeah. And the inoculations, when you got the inoculations for the different things, we don't want to say one word because it might get mad, so we want to be careful. But you know what I'm talking about. And just Africa alone, there was the blood disease that if you got it, you'd be dead within months. And it would not be very pretty trip either. It'd be painful. I don't want to quote any names because I don't want to talk about some things I don't know about. But anyway, I wasn't really worried about getting the protection from this current thing we just went through a little while ago. Everyone said, "Oh no, you shouldn't do that." It's like, well, unfortunately, I was under the guidance of my health counselor, and they said I should. So, if I want their help, then I'm gonna have to. And I kind of like tied in on that one, But that's the only time I got anything for that. I said, I'm not going to get anything else. I'm just going to ride it out if I get it. And I'll ride it out just like the flu or anything else, Just ride it out, get tough, and I'll get through it. If I don't, well, I'll be back later. Back in another cycle. But, yeah, I'm not saying reincarnation now. You see the difference in what I'm saying compared to reincarnation. Reincarnation is a little bit different. I'm not saying that reincarnation in anyone's view is wrong. Okay. Now, again, like you said, they took it out of the Bible, or the church doesn't believe in that form of things. However, there's too many questions when you're dealing with the past lives or other lives than what we know. Okay. So, like, for instance, how did I know about navigation? Why did I know I wanted to do that? Well, I had a choice. I had choices. I could have been working on the helicopters and the planes as they landed on the ship. I could have been in sub duty, but one thing I didn't want to do, I didn't want to be under the water for 6 months at a time. And that just seemed like it would be too claustrophobic. Why? I don't know. I never had that problem, but for some reason I thought that way. And I was amazed I was even able to be on the ship for 6 months at a time when I was going on Westpacks, and I did that twice. In the Indian Ocean, 45 days, you do the math now, 45 days, 125 degree temperatures. Okay? That was on the cool day. So,
Yeah.
so you want to talk about hot. That's hell right there. Okay? You're on a steel ship. You walk out on the deck and it's 125 degrees on your feet. Even though you got thick boots on, your feet are burning. That really happened. The soles of the shoes were melting onto the deck. That is how hot it was. And if anybody's been there, you know what I'm talking about. So
There's certain jobs that are pretty much the equal to that, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And one I have a great deal of respect for is people who do roofing.
Yeah.
On a hot summer day, you get up onto that roof and you're putting down black tar paper or felt
Yeah.
paper, and then you got to put the shingles on there. It will literally melt the sole off your shoe because it is so daggone hot.
Yeah. So imagine that on a steel ship and 45 days in the Indian Ocean. Imagine that happening. And you have no place to hide, nowhere to hide. You're stuck.
When you were talking about how you're reprocessed and everything and brought back,
Yeah.
there's actually a religion out there. I'm not going to name the religion, of course, but there's a religion out there that believes that we are put here to learn a lesson, and we can go through our entire life cycle and not learn that lesson. Well, when we die, if we haven't learned that lesson, then we're sent back. And we have to constantly go through this, and we can never reach heaven until all the lessons that are put before us have been answered, have been
And
learned.
the fun thing about that idea is that I can't prove it's not right. I can't debunk it because I don't have enough information. Okay.
Exactly. But if it kind of ties in with what you were talking about,
Yeah.
if that is how things actually are, which according to that religion it is, that would explain why you're constantly coming back here for other cycles.
Why I
Because
have those memories of
yeah,
everything.
you're just not smart enough to learn the lesson yet.
Yeah. And I guess I'll
Just
just
have
enjoy
fun.
I'll just enjoy the experience. Yeah, exactly. And I'll just enjoy the experience and hey. Although this last time here has taught me a lesson here. I already told whoever is in the power, I said, hey, I'm not signing that. I'm going to cancel my contract now. I'm done. This is my last trip around this life cycle. I'm done. And when I'm done with this one, I don't want to come back here. I don't care if I gotta wait somewhere else, but I'm not coming back here for another lesson. I'm canceling the contract. I'm out now. I don't know if I can do that, but that's what I said. I said that before. So I'm just saying to whoever is listening out there is in charge of my contract, just keep that in mind. I want to live this one out, and then when I'm done with this one, if I live to be, 80, 90 years old, whatever it is, let me live out my life, and then that's it, though. I don't want to come back and have to go through this again. I mean, after what's going on right now, I don't want to live through what they got to live through later. You know what I mean? Oh, man. I always say I'm glad I'm 63 and not 36. If I was 36 and having to live through the stuff they're putting through right now, I would be in trouble. I wouldn't know how I'd even survive, to be honest with you.
RL had a very interesting thought that he was putting out there,
Yeah, put that
where
up there, Bobby.
God created the Big Bang,
Yeah.
and because he triggered it, and because he's an absolute mind, he couldn't interact with the physical realms in order to experience it. So he sent out probes so he could experience it for himself, and that was us.
Wow. Now that actually seems interesting.
That's a great theory.
Yeah.
I love that theory.
And then to connect with us, and it creates a spiritual aspect of it so that he can create and so that he can connect with us. And of course, when we're thinking about the spiritual aspect of it, we're talking into the air to God, right? Who we can't see. We're just talking to God, who we think is God. Whoever that is, we think, right? You know what I mean? And so then you have. I'm not debating whether God's there or whether he's real. I'm not debating whether or not we have a spirit. I'm just trying to formalize how this all works out here. Okay. And then everyone can do their own research and discover what they believe. And hey, if we can come to an understanding and learn even more about what we're trying to figure out, then that's how we grow. Am I right? That's how we grow. And I think Bobby would agree with that one, right, Bobby?
Oh, what?
You would agree with we have these discussions to try to improve how we grow in our spiritual walk or how we grow in our human sense of things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not going to sleep on me, are you, Bobby? How
No,
many
no. I
how
was
many
just letting you
times
know.
hey, I was gonna ask you something. How many times do you walk to the store?
Oh, I
You said one time the other day you said it took you when you walk to the store it takes you an hour round trip, right?
yeah. That's because I gotta walk and then I gotta concentrate on what I want to get
Yeah, then you
without
gotta walk back.
failing to
Yeah.
forget, which is I could easily forget one thing and I have to go back.
Oh my goodness. And that's a 1 hour walk round trip. And if it's
Yeah, but
90
sometimes it
degrees
doesn't
out
even
there,
it doesn't even take an hour.
okay.
But yeah,
When you
I
do
mean,
when you goof around in the store, you're looking for whatever you're looking for, and you got to come back. Yeah, it takes an hour then.
yeah,
Yeah, I got
because
you.
the walking it's walking distance, but it's like getting there, getting what you want. It's like I don't even have the speed of an average child anymore. I'm, s- but I'm good at walking and biking, but sometimes you don't have like that constant speed than you have when you was a cheap like you was a small boy. Because sometimes my mother would tell me, "Hey, you need to slow down." And I
So
used to love to run too, but I don't have those attributes like I used to compared to today or when I was
no,
going to school and stuff.
dwaddle. What do you mean dwaddle? Oro.
Yeah, what do you
I
mean by
dwaddle.
throttle?
Donald, he takes his time. He's
Oh,
kind of
okay.
like me, where I go for a walk and I know exactly where I'm going, but the route that it may end up with, because halfway there a squirrel runs across the road, so I got to go check the squirrel out for a little while.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Eventually, I will get there, but it's going to take a little longer than usual.
Or what I like to do when I'm driving, that's why I like to drive over flying. And some, well, why don't you fly there? Well, you can't stop and look at the river. You can't stop and look at a park and it might have gold, you know. That's why I think I'm part of the Anunnaki because I like gold prospecting, I didn't know I liked gold prospecting until I started doing it. Then it was like, hey, this is pretty cool. And to me, it's
Yeah.
not
Me,
worth anything. It's just shiny, it's just something fancy and shiny, and it could be worth value, but not really. To me, it's just something shiny. You know what I mean? And so I enjoy it. Uh, but you can't do that when you take an airplane and you fly. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Eagles, yeah. I almost wrecked the car when I was watching a big hawk flying in the air current, and he was enjoying the air current, and I was watching the hawk, and I said, "Oh wait, I'm driving." I gotta keep.
okay. So let me ask you this: when you're driving or walking, and somehow an incident happened, would you stop and try to tend to that incident, or
If you witness it, you're supposed to.
yeah? Because this was about a
And
couple of years ago. So I was on my way to Burger King, and what happened was that I was passing through my old road when a child turned on that street where I used to live with, and a couple of thugs attacked her.
Oh no.
They did not injure her, but they might have done something that will scare the crap out of her. And I was like, I had to stop, see if she's okay and stuff. I waited for the sheriff to come, which they really need to do something about getting more men and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like a bit scary. You don't have enough men to do your job, to do the job and stuff.
Right.
So, but luckily she was okay. There was no injuries, and if there were, and if should there be were, it was just him himself.
Yeah. But then, yeah, you did the right thing to stay there and help. You know, as long as you're not putting yourself in danger. Now, if you're going to be in danger yourself, then no, you just call 911 as soon as you can. Of course, nowadays you have a phone in your pocket, so you can do that anytime almost, right? And
Yeah.
so you wouldn't sit there and film it. You would definitely call 911 and get the authorities on the way. But I don't know if you
Yeah.
would. I don't know if you'd necessarily put yourself in danger if they're going to be shooting, you know, or
Oh
stabbing or
no,
anything else
there
like that.
was. Oh
And
no, there was shooting.
I mean, I can't move.
You gotta try to. You know the song by Frosty the People, "Pump Up Kicks."
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's probably gonna be
But
me.
yeah, you don't. I don't want to get involved with that 'cause I don't move as good as I used to, and I will probably just take note and walk the other way, or if I can call without them seeing me call, then I would call for help, but I'm not going to get in the middle of it.
The main rule of
Yeah,
thumb is exactly what the paramedics do in case there's as something like that where there's shots fired and everything. Paramedics won't come onto the scene until the police have everything under control. So
Mhm.
you should do the same exact thing. Just stay
Yeah,
out of it until the police have everything locked down. And then if you're
right.
able to render aid, absolutely go ahead and render aid, but
Yeah,
not before then.
yeah. And
Yeah,
with
especially when it
today's,
comes to active shooting situations.
oh yeah, and today, in Minneapolis area, there was Cub Foods all the way down to Mankato actually. All the Cub Foods had a bomb threat. And so they had to empty out all the Cub Food grocery stores. That's a grocery store. And they had to inspect the store and make sure there was no bomb. Now, can you imagine how much money that's going to cost? Just that alone. So the store has to be closed for that. Okay.
And I hope they find out who did the threat
I hope
and they
so
lock them
too.
up,
Yeah. Yeah,
because they
exactly.
take a lot of taxpayer money. And while these officers and canines and everything are sweeping all these buildings, there's all these other people who are getting injured, who are getting
Yeah.
shot at, where the
Yeah.
police can't go there because they're already taking care of something else.
Yeah.
That should be a major crime.
And the thing is, who's calling? Is it gonna be somebody of the right mind, or is it gonna be dare I say it, uh, someone else from another place? You know what I mean? Uh, I don't want to use the term 'cause I might get in trouble for saying it. Um,
Yeah.
but you know what I'm saying. The people from the other place, you know what I mean. They're not technically supposed to be here. So they're the ones who could be calling in a threat. I don't know. I don't know that for sure, but I mean they've already gotten in trouble for beating up police and everything like that. And they got in trouble for drunk driving issues and killing people, and nobody's doing anything about that. Think about that, and take a look at some of those news stories, folks. Check them out if you want. I'm
Yeah.
not making it up. I
Yeah.
didn't get it. I didn't get it from making it up. I got it from reading it.
And
Real
that's the
news.
problem with sanctuary cities.
Yeah.
You know,
And
when they created them, they had no idea what they were getting themselves into.
yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so
So what I want to say is, like, thank goodness that school is probably out throughout all throughout the nation, and summer school might be starting. But it's like almost every day you gotta live like someone's really gonna blow up the school, or your friend is gonna get shots and all that. And it's
yeah. So for you though, for all of us, we just need to keep our minds alert, and we need to understand there is going to be bad things out there. We have to be aware of that, and we just have to know how to try to stay away from it, try to stay out of the way, and hopefully we don't get caught up in the middle of it. I mean, like I see people all the time. Oh well, so and so was shot up at such and such mall or whatever, and it's like, well, guess where I was when you were shot up at the mall? Oh, I was at home. I was at home doing my radio show, or I was at home listening to a show on the internet, or I was at
yeah,
home not in the riot. Okay. I was at home.
yeah,
I wasn't in the riot downtown Minneapolis getting burned or shot or whatever else, you know. I was
yeah.
at
Just
home.
when we had that George Floyd incident,
Yeah,
did you
exactly.
guys
Yeah.
know that they actually convicted the killer, the cop, the fired the cop, and they convicted the cop that did it because he
Yeah.
was not following the proper procedures.
Right. And they made the aggressive the aggressor, they made him the saint, basically. And they made him, there's a George Floyd um, monument, there's a George Floyd center right there in Minneapolis there.
Hmm.
And it
And
was
they
because
sweep
of,
under the rug what he did,
yeah,
the reason why he was pulled over. They just swept all that under the rug.
yeah. And if you look at and you can look at his record, if it's still findable. It might not be. But there was some things about the autopsy report too, and all that stuff, which I don't know if I can get into without getting in trouble. But he was able to breathe. His airway was fine, and he was overdosed on whatever he was overdosed on. They didn't do a toxology thing, or they didn't
Sad.
include that. But yeah, I mean they did when you read the final report. But I mean when they put that onto the news, you didn't hear about all that.
No, they don't want to put that out on the air.
Yeah.
And the
So
you major media isn't going to cover that anyhow.
right, and if we
They pretty
say it,
much built the story.
yeah, and if we say it, then it's misinformation. So we got to be careful about how we talk about some of that stuff.
Yeah.
But being from that area and living in and around that area, and I'm just glad I wasn't there when that happened. I already moved down here and living in this house now. I've been here for 7 years now, and so I don't care what's going on up there. As long as it's not here and I'm not there, and they can do what they want. Just stay out of my yard, you know. So,
Well, I hate to say
yeah.
this, guys, but I'm going to have to call it a night.
Oh well, thank you for joining us, and I know we might not have gotten anything answered, but you know what?
Well, thank you very much for having me on, and I really
Yeah,
I really enjoyed the show.
we had some good conversation and had some good things to think about, and maybe follow up some more study and some discussion, and try to figure out some more stuff we can present next week, maybe. And we'll just
Sounds
carry it
good.
on and have more fun. And I enjoy this kind of conversation. Real relaxed. We don't have to worry about trying to prove anything. And thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Like you said,
Yeah.
nobody we weren't around back then, so none of us can prove anything.
Right. But just remember, next time when you have a memory of something that you can't understand, consider what I'm saying about the life cycle regeneration, or that's what I'll call it, a life cycle regeneration.
Yeah.
Consider
Well,
that option.
well, I've already had some of those, so
Okay, so
But
you know what I'm saying then. Okay, good. All right,
yeah,
good deal.
what's that?
All
We'll
right,
talk to
good
you
deal.
later.
All right, have a
All
good
right,
night.
you
Bye.
too.
Take care. Take care,
Bye.
Jeff.
Thank you.
All right. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
What
So
a nice dude. What a
we'll
nice
have
dude.
him back on again. He was fun to talk to. He brought some good things. Him and RL brought some good topics to the conversation. Yeah,
Yeah.
we could be. Can we use that as a destination, Bobby?
Um,
Can we add that as
we
a
could,
destination?
but I don't think our server's been active for quite some time.
Well, I
It's
have one
probably
that has Errt radio on it.
yeah. I'll just oh
Do you want me to try to figure it out and try to have it sent there?
um. Well, it depends on how many people will be interested.
Yeah,
I know I've been trying to get RL to come on Facebook and Skype.
yeah. He says my channel's still there,
Yeah. It's
so we
just
just
not
have
as active like it used to.
yeah. Well, the hardest part that I have, yeah, I see more people on Facebook and on YouTube and Twitter on your Twitter or Twitch, whatever, Bobby. Yeah, so I see people on that, and see like right now we got 3 people, one on
Yeah.
Twitch. Yeah,
Yeah.
so there you go. Hey, how many subscribers do I have? I didn't check that.
Yeah. So wow, we only just got RL. Where is everybody?
I don't know. It's
Are there like vacation at Disney World or something and we're not invited?
I don't know.
I know most of them was there at the MWAT, which
Yeah,
is yeah.
but
No,
Friday, I don't know. Summer, everybody's out. Next week is 4th of July, so I mean I'll be here. I'll be here anyway. I don't take holidays off. Forgetting holidays. That's for losers.
yeah, I might do something patriotic on.
I mean a holiday, yeah, 4th of July itself, yeah, but not Friday. Friday I'm gonna do my normal show Friday. I mean you can take it off if you want. I'll do it myself. I'll talk to myself for 2 hours. I'm good at that. I can talk to myself for 2 hours. Yeah. Or just
Well,
do it.
RL, if they don't stop changing my password, I'm thinking about getting rid of Facebook and replacing it. Because sometimes I put a lot of stuff that is probably just doesn't have any reason. So
Yeah.
it's like a reset or something because there are some things that I'd love to do on Facebook, then you won't be able to do it at home.
Yeah. Well, so Johnny thinks that that whole situation is metaphorically speaking, and we're not going to get into details of it, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what Johnny was suspecting. So
Yeah, it's just like is it like really real? Is it true that Oofy died or
I
there
don't
is
know.
some
I don't know. That's just what I'm saying. I don't know, and I'm not going to want to say that. And
I mean it's
yeah,
good that Amanda did a memorial today during MWAT, but we really don't have any true confirming details.
right. And so, if anything else, at least if they were watching, then they know that we did get together and we gave them a little honor in their name, you know. So that's the main thing. So that's all about that. We don't need to go into too much on that anyway. But yeah, well, that's it. So that woman that was on with Maureen and Anthony, I'm gonna have to. I already reached out to her. We got friends on Facebook now, and we're gonna probably get together and do a real live interview with her in person, because she's only an hour and a half away from me, from where the Boyd house is. That is where she was talking about. Boyd, the town Boyd or Boyd County, whatever you want to call it. It's not that far. Oh.
Yeah, sorry about that. My uncle accidentally unplugged the gateway.
Why did he do that?
It was an accident.
Well, darn it. Don't unplug that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to recover. It's going to recover.
You want to wait till it recovers and you come back, or what?
Yeah, we should be back. Let's see about hitting it again. Why are you telling me no? I might have to reboot my computer to force.
Oh no.
Slides continuing.
What is what RL? I can't read that. What is what?
The persona.
Oh boy.
Like some type of transfiguration or something.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Force. Because it's not picking it up for some reason.
Well, just reset it then. I'll wait. We'll wait. I'll run an ad while you do that. Go ahead.
No. I'm coming back. Check. All right, I'm coming back.
Oh, now you heard twice. Oh, now I hear you. Okay, there we go. All right, well, we got 6 minutes now. How about that? Well, I did see that one cartoon that she had on her Twitter. Or was it Twitter that I saw it on? And
It was Facebook.
She was talking about how to ghost hunt, right? And they had a cat was scaring the ghost. I don't know if you've seen that one or not. Pretty funny.
Yeah.
But all right, go ahead and play.
Yeah, hold on. I'm just trying to find out what is a persona. Yeah. So a persona is a personally claimed persona resembling an anthropomorphic animal adopted by a member of the furry fandom. These characters can serve various roles for their creators, from idealized versions of themselves to flesh out role-playing characters or digital mascots. Personas are restricted to fur animals. They can be any species, real, mythological, fictional, extinct, or even hybrids. Some popular personas include species like lubes, foxes, dragons, and cyborg aliens called protogens. All right. Now let's get on out of here. Uncle, I'm trying to do a show. Back the pros, reminding you that you should continue listening and watching the Errt Radio on your favorite device on Mixer, Podbean, YouTube, Facebook, Trouble, Odyssey, and Rumbo. And with your glorious gift of $40, you receive this nice, great big hat by going to ertradio.com and hit that PayPal button. But while supplies last. Because if you do not, I'll come in my spaceship. I will beam you up. You better pray to your God because you know what's going to happen to you in your wallet. We only just got around. Nobody else give a damn.
Well, at least he was here. That's all right. They're on investigation. Probably they're busy. I can understand that.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I guess time to go.
All right. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us, RL and Jeff, and anyone else who will see you later. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you next time.
And before we leave, Luffy did play as an octopus whose occupation was an asteroid miner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
we're done. We're done.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So she came to the end of the story then. Okay. All right then. We'll see you all next time.
All right. Thank you for watching.